I'm going to preview the Baylor at Arizona football game already, which will be played November 22nd at noon Central Time on TNT. As of right now, Arizona is favored by 6.5. The over-under for this game is 62.5. And I apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And I want to just mention this up front. Arizona is clearly not as good as Utah. Arizona's not ranked. But they are a good football team, and they're much improved from last year, to say the least. Because I thought going into the year, Brent Brennan might be in trouble if he doesn't go to a bowl. Yeah, he's surpassed that already. And Arizona is receiving 9 votes, by the way. So what happened in the last game for both of these teams? Well, I'm going to just start with the negative, just get out of the way. Baylor got destroyed at home against Utah, 55-28. And you know what's crazy is Baylor killed Utah in the passing game. But they had 2 turnovers, including a pick six and a near pick six. And the defense couldn't do anything against the run. Baylor's now 5-5 on the year, 3-4 in the Big 12. And yeah, Baylor had 430 yards passing. But that's on 58 attempts, and half of those were completed. So not an efficient game, to say the least. And they even had 28 first downs. And they outgained Utah by 80 yards, 563 to 483. Yeah, too many mistakes. And Baylor couldn't do enough on offense. And they had a few plays here and there they could have caught passes and they didn't. Or the ball was tipped at the line or too low or too much one way other. But you get the whole picture. A very disappointing loss, to say the least, in terms of that fashion. I wasn't surprised with the result. Nothing would have surprised me at that point. Because Utah is that good of a football team. Now, Arizona actually surprised me last week, and I picked against Cincinnati on the road. And guess what? Arizona did win. Though it was close. 30-24. Thus, they are 7-3 overall. They are guaranteed a winning record and 4-3 in the Big 12. So this is huge for conference standings, and obviously if Baylor wins this game, they go to a bowl game. And I'm not going to mention anything more about the macro stuff. You already heard my thoughts about that last week. Just a mess. Now, Aranda's job thing, even if he just gets to a bowl at 6-6, I don't think it's enough necessarily for him to stay, but that's not my call. And the first things first, the priority is to get an athletic director, because I do not see a way Mac Rhodes comes back to Baylor. I just don't. So, just get that out of the way. And 7-5, I'm not even sure Aranda would stay. I'm not even sure. So, at least y'all know my thoughts on that already. So, I'll put the outlook on Arizona football in the description below. And I'm going to go offense, defense, and special teams in terms of the stats. Now, offensively, they run like a pro-style offense. They averaged 32.7 points per game. They allowed 55 tackles for loss and 27 sacks, 6 interceptions, and 4 fumbles. They averaged 154.5 rushing yards per game, 258.4 passing yards per game. Time possession, 30 minutes, 10 seconds. They have 218 first downs on the year. 51 for 132 on third down. 14 for 23 on fourth down. They allowed 31 pass breakups and 19 quarterback hurries. They allowed 2 block kicks this year. They're 2 deep on the offensive line. Weight is 319.9 pounds. So, and I will say, Noah Fafita is their starting quarterback, and he's better this year than he was last year. He's going back to this first year as a starter in terms of form, to say the least. Number 1, 5'10" inch, 186-pound quarterback. That is a junior. He might go to the NFL right after this year if he wants. I believe he could do that if he wanted to. 205 completions out of 316 attempts for 2,494 yards with 24 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And 84 rushing attempts, but that's only for 98 yards with 3 touchdowns. So he's not known as a scrambling quarterback. So that would help the Baylor defense going into this game, I would think. But we'll see. The starting running back is obviously Ishmael Mahdi, and you recognize the name because he was at Texas State. And Baylor played him against them a few years ago. Even like a year ago, even if you want to say that, just when you're watching Texas State play. Number 21, 5'9" 188-pound running back. That's a senior. 94 rushing attempts for 639 yards with 3 touchdowns. A little low on his touchdowns, but still. 11 receptions for 79 yards with 1 touchdown. This Quincy Craig, number 24, 5'10", 195-pound running back. That is a junior. 51 rushing attempts for 333 yards with 2 touchdowns. And 12 receptions for 86 yards with 1 touchdown. And the only other guy, running back, I'm really going to mention, unless they're going to play some other guys, either due to the blowout, or if it's a blowout at that, or injuries, is Kedrick Reese-Cano, number 3, 6 foot, 213-pound running back. That is a junior. 59 rushing attempts for 324 yards with 5 touchdowns. So that's the majority of the rushing touchdowns is from that one guy. And 1 reception for 9 yards. That's really it. Now, in terms of wide receivers and tight ends, who's the first guy to mention right off the bat? It's Chris Hudson, number 4, 5'11", 174-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 41 receptions for 512 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 rushing attempts for 14 yards. There's Javen Watley, number 6, 5'10", 167-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 36 receptions for 418 yards with 4 touchdowns and 6 rushing attempts for 31 yards with 1 touchdown. And he did have no completions on the passing attempts, by the way, out of 1 attempt, but that was picked off. So just so you all know about that. There's Trey Spivey, number 12, 6'4", 213-pound wide receiver. That's a sophomore. 15 receptions for 317 yards with 6 touchdowns. So that's a lot of touchdowns for one particular guy already. 1 rushing attempts for 3 yards with 1 touchdown. And there's Chris Hunter, number 11, 6'1", 193-pound wide receiver. That's a junior. 20 receptions for 302 yards with 2 touchdowns. There's Luke Wysong, number 15, 5'10", 192-pound wide receiver. That's a senior. 20 receptions for 265 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing attempt for -1 yard. There's Gio Richardson, number 5, 5'10", 170-pound wide receiver. That's a freshman. 15 receptions for 228 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 rushing attempt for 2 yards. The next 2 guys I want to mention are tight ends, and that's Sam Olsen is the first one, number 84, 6'3", 231-pound tight end. That's a senior. And 14 receptions for 103 yards with 2 touchdowns. And this Cam Barmore, number 80, 6'6", 230-pound tight end. That is a senior. 11 receptions for 100 yards. That's it. And I'm going to just go over one more guy, and that's really it. And it's Brandon Phelps, number 18, 6'3", 198-pound wide receiver. That's a freshman. 6 receptions for 82 yards with 1 touchdown. Now, defensively, they allow 20.3 points per game. They run a 4-2-5 defense. 164 first downs they allow 146.7 rushing yards per game, and they also allow 159.5 passing yards per game. However, I will say Baylor faced Utah last week, and they killed them through the air, so I don't know how Arizona's going to deal with that. As long as Sawyer is more efficient and for the game overall, and the offensive line does better against pass rush, that would maybe they could exploit that more than Arizona's given up this year, but we'll have to wait and see. They have 66 tackles for loss. They only have 18 sacks, 45 pass breakups, 38 quarterback hurries, 14 interceptions, though. That's big numbers, and 6 fumbles, 50 for 147 on 3rd down, 14 for 25 on 4th down, 29 minutes, 48 seconds of time possession allowed. Defensive line 2 or 3 deep. Weight 288.8 pounds, but you could go particular about nose tackle and defensive tackle if you want to, and same thing goes for defensive end. Just so all y'all know. And by the way, when you see that 1-4-4, that's like all the way from the defensive ends on the 2 deep combined. So I forgot to delete that part, but y'all can just ignore it. Okay, what are some guys to keep an eye on defensively? And it's Dalton Johnson, number 43. 5'11", 198-pound defensive back. That's a senior. 76 tackles, 39 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 3 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Tay Brown, number 6, 6'2", 231-pound linebacker. That is a junior. 70 tackles, 27 solo, 6.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 3 quarterback hurries, 1 pass breakup, and 1 rushing attempt for -8 yards, believe it or not. There's Max Harris, number 4, 6'2", 238-pound linebacker. That is a junior. 60 tackles, 32 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback hurries, 1 pass breakup and force, 1 fumble. There's Genesis Smith, number 12, 6'2", 204-pound DB. That's a junior. 55 tackles, 24 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 7 pass breakups, 1 quarterback hurry, force 1 fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Traden Stukes, number 2, 6'2", 200-pound on DB. That's a senior. 42 tackles, 21 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, and 6 pass breakups. There's Riley Wilson, number 16, 6'2", 230-pound linebacker. That's a senior. 37 tackles, 18 solo, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hurries, and 1 pass breakup. Now, questionable as of right now, though we have to keep an eye on the injury front once it gets to Wednesday, and then go day by day, and then obviously game time. I mean, right before the game, they'll show something, possibly. Is Teololi Savia, number 98, 6'4", 301-pound defensive lineman. That's a senior. 30 tackles, 7 solo, 3 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 2 quarterback hurries. That's Chase Kennedy, number 7, 6'3", 232-pound linebacker. That's a junior. 29 tackles, 19 of those solo, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hurries, forced 2 fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. There's Aiden Garnes. I think he was out, I believe he was at West Virginia recently, prior to Arizona. Number 9. 6 foot, 183-pound defensive back. That's a senior. 28 tackles, 20 solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 2 quarterback hurries, and 7 pass breakups. There's Deshaun McKnight, number 0. 6'3", 288-pound defensive lineman. That is a senior. 24 tackles, 30 of those are solo, 10 tackles for loss by himself, 2 sacks, and 2 quarterback hurries. There's Javion Cole, number 8, 5'10", 189-pound defensive back. That's a junior. 23 tackles, 16 of those solo, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and 1 forced 1 fumble. There's Leroy Palu, number 95, 6'3", 301-pound defensive lineman. That is a junior. 23 tackles, 7 solo, 2.5 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, 1 quarterback hurry, 1 pass breakup, and 1 fumble recovery. 1 quarterback hurry, and then 1 fumble recovery. That's Myron Robertson, number 10, 6'1", 235-pound linebacker. That's a freshman. 18 tackles for those solo, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hurry, forced 1 fumble. There's Dominic Lolesio, Lolesio, number 42, 6'4", 252-pound defensive lineman. That is a sophomore. 17 tackles, 6 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hurry, 1 pass breakup. There's Julian Savianea, number 41, 6'3", 280-pound defensive lineman. That is a sophomore. 17 tackles, 9 of those solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery. Malachi Bradley, number 44, 6'2", 278-pound defensive lineman. That is a senior. 15 tackles, 8 of those solo, 3.5 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, and 5 pass breakups. There's Mays Pease, number 99, 6'3", 271-pound defensive lineman. That is a 71-pound defensive lineman. That is a freshman. 15 tackles, 5 of those are solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hurry. Okay, there's Jabari Mann, number 11, 6 foot, 226-pound linebacker. That's a sophomore. 14 tackles, 6 of those solo, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 1 quarterback hurry. There's Michael Dansby, number 25, 5'11", 185-pound defensive back. That is a junior. 12 tackles, 9 of those solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, and 5 pass breakups. Okay, the next on the list, I might as well just say Gavin Hunter, number 23. 6'2", 204-pound defensive back. That is a sophomore, 10 tackles, 7 of those solo, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, and 2 pass breakups. Now from here, I'm just going to scan through if I need to mention any more defensive linemen. And one of them is already out with a lower body injury. I no need to mention that guy. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the guys in general. So you get a good feel for it. I would say the most commonly used kicker is Michael Salgado Medina, number 19, 6'3", 210-pound kicker / punter. Though he has punted the ball this year, and that's a sophomore. 6 punts for 250 yards. One of those went inside the 20-yard line. One of those went over 50 yards and long as 51, average 41.7 yards. And he's 39 for 39 on extra points, 16 for 24 on field goals, though. That's notable. Like 4 for 4 on 20 to 29 yards, 6 for 7 on 30 to 39 yards, 3 for 7 on 40 to 49 yards, 3 for 5 on over 50 yards. Okay, the most commonly used punter is Isaac Lovison, number 99, 6'4", 222-pound punter that's a senior, 27 punts for 1,145 yards. Long, 57 yards, average 42.44, 7 went inside the 20-yard line, and 4 of those went over 50 yards. Obviously, whatever you did right last game, you got to bring into this game. Whatever you did wrong last game, you got to bring in this game. You got to keep your composure a lot better overall. You can't have ejections from the game, and you got to limit your penalties a lot better than you did last game. That's clear and obvious. And you got to take away the home crowd for Arizona as much as possible while the game. Some of the Baylor fans that do come to the game, get them involved to replay. You got to stay resilient. And I know that might be some questionable calls here and there, but you got to be the mentally tougher team and make plays to win. You got to make adjustments on the fly, both offensively and defensively, and you got to start fast. And the thing about the adjustments part is you cannot just do it from like first half to the second half. I'm talking about throughout the first quarter, throughout the second, throughout the third, throughout the fourth, so on and so forth. You get the whole point. On special teams, you need to be solid, and you got to make field goals unlike last week and make every extra point. You got to have solid punts, good punt returns if possible. If nothing else, just don't muff the punt. And if you could block a field goal, block a punt without committing penalty, that's all I'm all for. While you want to limit all that as much as possible, as long as like a big return, you want to limit that on kickoffs or punt returns. And if you have those, that would really help yourself in this type of game, because special teams sometimes is the difference in the ball game. I mean, just telling the truth. Now, defensively, the good news is Noah Fafita is not a scrambler, but you got to do something about stopping the run. You got to do something. And get them to third and longs. Force havoc plays. Create negative plays. Force turnovers. You got to be good in the red zone defense. And you got to be good on fourth down defense in case they do go for it. Of course. Don't shut down the best players on offense as much as possible in terms of like the wide receivers. And if you can make a play on the ball, make a play on the ball. Whether it's like a bat down at the line of scrimmage or a bat down period, or straight up intercept the ball or force a fumble. You got to make a play. And if you could get some sacks, that would really help in this game in tackles for loss. Now, offensively, you want to limit your tackles for loss. You limit your sacks. That's obvious. And you got to get yourself in third and more manageable situations, not so predictable. And make sure Sawyer is not under arrest. I mean, like he was against the Utah game. And hopefully he is sharper for this game. 58 attempts is a lot of attempts. So you got to have a ground game going more consistently. The first half against Utah, they ran the ball good. Second half, they didn't. So, yeah. And you got to make contested catches. And even, like, if you can make one-handed catches, that would be huge. You got to have your, like, tight end step up in the run blocking if they do run block. Or same thing goes for, pass blocking on, like, a wide receiver screen or something. But you get the point. And same thing goes for your run blocking pass blocking for your running backs as well. You got to be good on the red zone offense. You got to be good on fourth down offense in case you do go for it. And all the pressure really is on Arizona going into this game. They literally beat Cincinnati on the road, a team that had only one conference loss. Yes, Arizona's now going to go to the Big 12 title game, but that's a huge momentum win right there. And now that they want to finish strong on their senior day, let's try to ruin their senior day as much as possible and try to pull off an upset here. Let's just see what happens. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe button. See you guys later on the road. 800 subscribers, of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. Somebody might this course like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. Some more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribe, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And another thing offensively, you got to take care of the football.